Let's go. Eagles training camp kicked off and football is officially back. So naturally, we got all kinds of storylines from camp, like positive news around Jihaad Campbell, Cooper DeJean playing multiple positions on defense, and Jalyx Hunt already proving he's going to be a menace. In this video, I'll get you caught up on all the takeaways from camp, look into a few exciting wrinkles around the offense, and dive into the NFC East where things aren't as promising. So let's talk about that and everything else around the birds. But first, let's run it. What's up, guys? We finally made it to training camp and football is officially back. So to celebrate, of course, as we do on this channel, I'm going to give away this signed Eagles football helmet, the Super Bowl helmet. All you got to do is hit the like button and then comment what you're most hyped about from training camp. Of course, reminder that while we might still be in celebration mode, the team is focused and all about business.
No, it ain't easy.
Treat praise like perfume. Smell it, sniff it, whatever you got to do with it, don't drink it.
Whatever we did last year, yeah, it's in the rearview mirror, and that doesn't matter anymore. We're not defending nothing. We're not the defending champs. We're the 2024 world champs, that's it. We're not defending. Sorry, we're not. So I don't like hearing like, oh, we're the defending champions. We're not defending nothing. We just won the title. And now we've got to go win it again, prove it all over again. And that's the mentality this team is going to have. We're not here to prove anything to anyone else but ourselves, and we know the mission. We're mission focused. So that's our approach, and I'm so proud of everyone here because they're buying into what we're selling.
I said it not long after winning the Super Bowl, but all that winning did for this team is just make them that much scarier for the rest of the league. I mean, the Birds have a bunch of psychos who are just that much hungrier to repeat now, and very clearly have a Super Bowl caliber squad with the right kind of mindset. For instance, remember how Jalen Hurts wouldn't put on a Super Bowl ring during or after the ring ceremony? Well, yeah, we finally got the answer as to why that was.
I've moved on to the new year. You know, it's as simple as that.
Just gotta say, it's refreshing to hear about that same kind of mindset from just about every single player you talk to. Seriously, you won't ever hear talk about winning the division or playoffs or repeating as Super Bowl champions. The focus is in staying in the moment and focusing on winning that present moment, something that extends to all levels of the organization. Like, I don't know if it says more about Philly's front office and how great it is, or the dysfunction of the league, or maybe a combination of both, but getting the last signing worked out in rookie safety Andrew Mukuba was really great to see ahead of camp. And maybe more so after Ian Rappaport shared the news that the New Orleans Saints were signing former Colts safety Julian Blackmon. By the way, in case you missed it, the reason for their move was the unexpected retirement of Tyrann Mathieu. Anyway, the reason that I bring that up is that it already was incredibly important about what was going to happen at the safety position, but now it feels like either the young guys went out and they're good enough there, or Vic Fangio is definitely going to be making that call to Justin Simmons.
We don't need you.
Speaking of reunions, the Eagles signed former UFL interior defensive standout Jacob Sykes after hosting him for a workout earlier this week, as the 25-year-old rejoins defensive line coach Clint Hurtt, who was his defensive coordinator with the Seattle Seahawks in 2023. Now, unfortunately, it never panned out for the undrafted free agent in Seattle, as he ended up getting cut and then signed with the San Antonio Brahmas. Although in the UFL, he played 10 total games while registering 19 tackles, 2 tackles for loss, and 1.5 sacks. Look, the odds aren't in Sykes' favor to make the final roster, but in all fairness, outside of specialists, you take specialists, kickers, punters, things like that outside of the UFL, the best players or the best conversion rates of players being able to make the jump from the UFL to the NFL is defensive linemen. Personally, though, if there's any interior depth guy who has a chance, I'd lean more towards a true nose tackle, which is why the other signing of former UTSA defensive tackle Joe Evans is worth mentioning. Now, if you're not as up on Evans, he was a UDFA this year where he eventually signed with the Colts. Granted, that turned into him getting released, but at 6'2", 323 pounds, that's some potential backup size to keep an eye on. However, out of all the recent signings, the one that many would argue has at least the best chance in terms of either making the roster or getting a practice squad is former Browns edge rusher Ogbo Okoronkwo, after Tom Pelissero shared that Howie Roseman added the 30-year-old pass rusher to the roster. By the way, the players who were cut to make room for those moves were defensive end KJ Henry, running back Lou Nichols, and they waived injured guard Marcus Tate. Of course, Double O is a dude that Howie has had his sights on for a while. Heck, just a little bit of research will show you that the Eagles were interested back in 2018, right before he was drafted. And at 6'2", 250 pounds, plus 7.5 sacks over the last 2 seasons, it's not impossible to think he could make an impact. Still, I've seen some people wonder, have some DMs out there of how are these signings going to make an impact, and ultimately, I mean, they may not. Yet how can you not appreciate Howie's approach to every single roster move?
If there's an incremental difference on a player who's the 90th guy from a guy who's on the street, we're going to make that change. And we owe that to our fans. We owe that to our players. We owe that to Jeffrey to do whatever we can to keep improving the talent level on the team. And so The way that I look at it is that we have a lot of young players coming down the pipeline that we want to keep in Philadelphia, but we want to win. And we want to win right now. We want to win next year, and we want to win going forward. And that's my job to try to balance it, and I'll do whatever I can to make sure that that happens.
Oh yeah, going back to the Okoronkwo signing, the other thought Anthony DeBona had prior to camp was perhaps this helps bring in some more depth, especially if Philly is slow-playing Nolan Smith's tricep injury.
Don't you put that evil on me! Don't you put that on us!
FYI, Nolan said he's going to be fine, so I'm not really worried about it. But don't take my word for it. This latest comment from Superman should tell you all you need to know.
I'm thinking 10 to 12.
That's a good number.
Yeah.
But that's on the low side.
Okay.
Oh,
okay.
I
I respect.
I ain't saying nothing else.
No, you don't have to. You don't. And you know what? Now I have to let everybody in because everybody probably don't understand the conversation.
Don't let them in.
Okay,
don't let them in. Just keep it like that. Keep it like that.
All right, maybe I could speak without letting everyone in. What was your high? Was it 15?
15.
Well, that's the goal then. You got to beat Hugh Douglas. I mean,
You
got to beat Hugh.
Pop. They call me Pop. Yeah,
you got to beat the old man. I mean, you got to beat Hugh.
Oh no, man! I don't never call them old men, man. They respect the game, and it's always gonna respect you.
I'm telling you, the pass rush this season could very realistically be better than last season. Although regardless of where you fall, it's refreshing that these are some of the debates around the Eagles camp. And not questioning or debating should they pay some of their best players like Washington's doing. Little update for you, not only has Terry McLaurin not shown up to camp and the Commanders made a choice to pay aging vets instead of arguably their best player, but they have officially placed McLaurin on the reserve/did not report list, meaning now the fines start hitting and this thing could get pretty ugly for both sides.
That's a shame. I'm a 10 out of 10 concerned because every day matters regardless of the fact that I know it's late July. Terry is a great pro. He's played a lot of football. They don't play football until September. I know that's always the very common response to this kind of thing. But if you keep messing around with the guy who is his dude and you don't allow them to continue to grow, you're playing with fire.
Could you imagine anything like this with A.J. Brown, Saquon Barkley, or Devonta Smith? Okay, right. I know that's something we'd never see, but it's just a constant reminder for what a quality organization that actually values its players looks like, compared to one that is not maybe playing with fire, but already is.
Just because we sign him doesn't mean we're going to have him. He was hurt 6 games last year. Seriously. We've signed, I remember signing a player for the highest paid at the position in the league, and he got knocked out 2/3 of the year, Dak Prescott. So there's a lot of things you can think about when you, just as the player does, when you're thinking about committing and guaranteeing money.
By the way, that was Jerry Jones commenting on Micah Parsons and throwing a little subtle jab at Dak Prescott. Because, like J.J. Watt said immediately afterward, anytime you can publicly take a dig at your star quarterback and your star pass rusher simultaneously right before the season starts, you just got to take it. After all, nothing makes guys want to fight for you more than hearing how upset you are that they got hurt while fighting for you. Also, the best part to all that might be the fact that Parsons ended up retweeting Watt's comments there, so it's not surprising to hear him speak out on it.
For me, it really don't matter. Like I said, I've been pretty consistent. If they don't want me here, they don't want me here. I go about my business. I understand the nature of the business. Like I said, as long as I'm here and under contract, I'm going to do what I have to do to perform at the highest level. But if this is then, this is then. There's the same way that Jerry Jones and Stephen Jones and the other Jerry Jones take care of their family, it's the same way I need to take care of my family. You know what I mean? I got my own 3 kids of my own, so we all need to take care of our own family at the end of the day.
That right there. Those are the kinds of things that help you understand why tensions are running high and fights are happening. And as crazy as it was to see, in the most recent poll, Cowboys fans are picking their team to finish 3rd this season.
What happened to them?
Okay, yeah, did not expect to see that one happen, but it's the same thing over and over again. While other organizations devalue their players, the Eagles continue to do things the right way. Therefore, there's a reason the culture inside the building is what it is.
When you talk about culture, and I think that's like a big picture word that a lot of people throw around, and it's hard to really define what that means. But I think from our perspective, when people understand that when they start here, that they have an opportunity to continue here and get rewarded here, it's incredibly important so that when you draft guys, you can show them examples. If you do the right thing on and off the field, we're going to make sure that we keep you here and maybe even have a chance to finish your career here. And I think that just from our perspective, and everyone's got to do things their own way. I'm not saying it's perfect. We make a lot of mistakes. But from our way, that's a core tenet of what we're trying to do here. We're trying to draft, develop, sign. And when you do that with players, your opportunity to set up continuity, your ability to really set up leaders for your football team going forward who can show young players the way and how we do things, I think that gives you a chance to be special.
100%. This group has a chance to be something incredibly special. I mean, they already are, but the good news from a health perspective is that the only player to begin camp on the physically unable to perform list was Nakobe Dean. First off, even better considering that Jihaad Campbell had been considered or speculated by some to begin camp on the PUP list right after he was drafted. But also the benefit for Nakobe, I mean, he may not be ready today, but judging by his constant updates and Instagram posts, it really does look like he's well ahead of schedule and ready to prove the doubters wrong. So on that note, how about dropping a like for the good news there, and it'll get you an entry into the Nakobe Dean, Nolan Smith, and Jordan Davis signed helmet giveaway here. Again, all you gotta do is make sure you comment on this video, subscribe to the channel, and hit that like button. And then I'll be selecting the lucky winner on an upcoming live stream, so stay tuned. All right, back to the defense real quick. Sure, they're young, the youngest in the NFL, but Howie reminded everyone that that does not mean that they don't have experience.
It's not like these guys are new to playing with each other. A lot of these guys, when you look down the defensive roster, they have continuity within each other. You watch some of the guys who played together, whether it was last year or together in college, and they have chemistry. They understand what the other guys are thinking. And so I think that from that perspective, there is some experience together.
It's funny because you kind of have the opposite situation on both sides of the ball. The offense has basically all their starters, 10 of 11 starters returning, but they lost several positional coaches. But then on the defensive side of the ball, they had basically all the coaches stay. They just lost some more of the players, which personally makes it one of the bigger storylines to watch for me on how that might affect the squad this season. However, I don't know if you're like me, but seeing some of the clips and highlights made me realize just how much I missed football and needed it back in my life. Granted, as great as that part was, seeing Jalen Carter out of practice Wednesday along with Kenyon Green wasn't the greatest sign. Yet for the concern of serious injury, thankfully we can all relax as multiple beat writers shared nothing was significant and Philly is just taking extra precaution. Which, okay, for the bread man, that is perfectly fine. Rest him, let him sit out, get him to 100%. Although when it comes to Kenyon Green, I can't help but wonder if a potential trade scenario pops up from this. After all, he was working with a third-team offensive line during OTAs, and now he isn't practicing to start training camp. So I'm with Anthony in that it's not a great start in Philadelphia for someone that many thought could compete with Tyler Steen for the starting job at right guard. On the flip side, the positive report was that Cam Jurgens was listed as a limited participant, but everything is good with his back following the surgery earlier this offseason. And wide receiver return specialist Avery Williams was practicing in full despite missing this spring with an undisclosed injury. Of course, I'll admit that I didn't expect to see him not get any reps with the group in fielding punts, but it's early and who knows how that could change. Meanwhile, then you got Jordan Davis, who's in fantastic shape. For real, he's legit in the best shape of his life, with Vic Fangio agreeing to that notion. And heck, just look at the differences over the last couple years yourself, and you can see the crazy difference for the change he's made since coming into the league. Be that as it may, it's still not exactly where these dudes are going to end up.
All the guys came back in really good shape, weighing what they're supposed to weigh, doing really well on the conditioning test. And that's what camp's for too. You know, I know these guys worked hard to be ready for that, but we'll do a lot of things that, you know, in the weight room, on the practice field, that are going to emphasize that conditioning. I think it's very clear the way we want to play football, with great physicality, with great detail, with great effort. There's no substitute there. You have to be in great shape. So we'll continue to push these guys to be in great shape, and I think we're off to a good start based off the conditioning test yesterday.
For the record, the Birds did not go full pads today, but Sirianni did say that he eventually expects the Birds to pick that up pretty quickly. But even with that being the case, it's no surprise that getting glimpses of Jihaad Campbell in practice created quite the buzz on social media.
God, oh my God, it's happening.
Come on, are you kidding me? Finally getting to see Philly's first-round pick in action, aka the first linebacker drafted in the first round in 46 years, was exactly what you would expect. Hype. As the 21-year-old went through individual drills with the rest of the linebackers and edge rushers, and according to several beat writers, very clearly looked like he put a ton of work in during the summer. So that, combined with just seeing him on the field, was impressive, and you can also understand why Vic Fangio had that reaction whenever they drafted him. Plus, despite the Eagles listing him as a limited participant, it seems like everything went better than expected because Campbell participated in just about every single team session without any setbacks. Granted, it is important to note that Jihaad participated in team drills as an off-ball linebacker with the second team, as Jeremiah Trotter Jr. and Zach Bond were the first two linebackers starting. At the same time, it's early, so I think you kind of expect to have the guys who've been there, like Jeremiah Trotter Jr., get those reps. He hasn't had many, but obviously he was on the team last year. and get the guys comfortable, then you kind of start to figure things out after the first week. However, shout out to ESP, but when I read Cooper DeJean was at safety with the first-team defense, that one definitely caught me off guard.
You're kidding, right?
In case you don't recall, Vic Fangio did say that this was something that they would look at, so it's not a total shock, not a total surprise. But this early, starting training camp, maybe I assumed it would be, a couple days later, but Coop can do it all. Granted, it was only in their base defense, allowing Coop to stay on the field at all times because he's just too valuable to take him off it. Yet I would caution to not go completely overboard like DeJean's completely changing positions or something, especially considering that Fangio didn't and doesn't run much base at all. However, when they do, it appears that the back half of the secondary might be anchored by the exciting whites. Having said that, I realize we've barely even started training camp here, but even Zach Berman did make a note of this, of saying the Eagles look determined to basically have Cooper DeJean out there every single down. So however it takes, if it's at nickel, if it's at safety, maybe the outside, we didn't see it so far, but you never know. Which is why DeJean's position might as well be titled football player at this point. I mean, the dude didn't make Ted Wynn's most versatile players in the NFL list, but I don't see how he'd not be a top 10 for that category.
I joke around with Coop all the time. I call him All-Pro Coop, APC, All-Pro Coop. Because this is going to be a year for him. I'm not trying to put pressure on him, but, I tell him all the time, I'll make you All-Pro. And that starts in camp, each and every day.
Obviously means a ton coming from AJ, the iron sharpens iron element, but also for Kelee Ringo, who, by the way, started as the other corner opposite Quinyon Mitchell. And Ringo's been brought up by AJ multiple times as having that all-pro potential as well. Anyway, when it comes to some of the other key positions to keep an eye on, Tyler Steen was at starting right guard, Sidney Brown was a safety next to Reed Blankenship, rotating in and out with Andrew Mukuba, and rookie Drew Kendall has clearly overtaken Brett Toth as the second-team center, with Zach Berman noting how Toth is now almost exclusively lining up at second-team left guard. Okay, so the offense and defense started out portions with Jalen Hurts going 2 for 2 with completions to Saquon and AJ. However, on a later attempt deep to Brown, Quinyon Mitchell broke up the play and forced the only incompletion of the day from Jalen. But then later, they tried the other side, and Ringo began to get tested. First on a deep shot down the right sideline to Terrace Marshall Jr., with several media members recognizing the great touch from Tanner McKee to get it over Ringo. So yeah, not great, but later against the first-team offense, AJ beat Ringo down the sideline with a great catch on a back shoulder throw for 20-plus yards. And judging by all the takeaways, it was obvious that the offense was specifically testing Ringo. I mean, he got nearly all the first-team reps up to that point, and judging by the reports, he was in decent positions. Not like he got totally burned, but unfortunately, he gave up 2 big plays. Of course, getting beat by AJ is one thing, although 11 was quick to share that Terrace Marshall Jr. is proving to be a tough cover as well.
Even in the spring, he was making a lot of catches. I know you guys didn't see it, but he's gonna make the room very uncomfortable, and that's a great thing.
FYI, just a quick training camp and preseason reminder, we're going to see and hear about plays of guys getting burned, making mistakes, having some issues there. Not to overreact. Yes, it's important to remember. But we also saw that from Nakobe Dean. The guys are learning, they're picking up things, so I'm not going to go overboard here and saying Kelee Ringo is, losing his job or anything like that. Heck, remember, Nakobe Dean didn't have a good camp for almost all of it last year, yet then turned it on and was able to use the information he had learned to make a game-saving interception versus Jacksonville.
I remember after I got beat on it, talking to Kenny and Jalen in training camp, that's the primary route. So I knew that if he thought he liked the matchup, he was going to throw it.
So I'll say it again. Was it the best day from Ringo? No, but no reason to overreact or freak out. Still, coincidence or not, Adoree Jackson did eventually take the first-team reps in Kelee Ringo's place on the outside toward the latter portion of practice, followed by Drew Mukuba also being inserted with the first team. Look, overall, the offense was doing well. Like I said, Hurts only had 1 incompletion all day. However, he did get sacked once by Jalyx Hunt after Hunt used his athleticism to get by Jordan Mailata. And man, I was already pretty convinced, but the Hunter's going to go crazy this season.
Oh, man, he's going to be special. He's going to be special, man. Just his burst, he has tendencies like Micah, just to be able to cut on a dime like that. Man, I'm so proud of that guy, the way he works. How do I go from Josh Sweat to Jalyx, man? It's crazy. I was just like, man, Howie, give me a break for 1 year. Jesus. Jalyx is going to be a star, man. And I'm glad that I get to go up against him because I know that if he's giving me hell, he's going to give everyone else hell.
It's almost unfair when you think about the versatility of the defense. I mean, here you have Jalyx Hunt as a converted safety, and you got athletes everywhere. Plus, Jihaad Campbell, like I mentioned, is a limitless weapon for Fangio, which is why I love to see him knock down a short pass from Tanner McKee that was intended for wide receiver Danny Gray, and then later the Rook actually blitzed Hurts and affected his throw. Now, it was still completed, but his athleticism clearly translates to anywhere on the field. And speaking of freakishly athletic linebackers, converted fullback Ben Van Sumeren actually got a carry with a third-team offense. And in case you weren't aware, you had forgotten, he's got some juice as a runner, with others noting his impressive speed. I mean, yeah, he did run a 4.4 at his pro day back in 2023 and was one of the most athletic linebackers to ever enter the draft, so the league may not be ready for this year's ground game. Oh yeah, Tanner McKee also took off on a designed quarterback keeper run that tricked the entire defense, but I don't know necessarily if that's in the works. And yes, you heard me right, Tanner McKee, which, okay, that's fine. That's not really anything permanent, but I do like seeing the new wrinkles from offensive coordinator Kevin Patullo.
He's definitely trying some things. You know, this is training camp, so we're going to see some new wrinkles in there and throw some different things. And we're just going to try to build up what we did last year. You know, I think he's very familiar with us. We know him. We have a great relationship, so there's a positive. And we're just going to continue to try to build from what we did last year really well, and and just add a little finishing touches on it.
For those curious, we also got to see Will Shipley have a couple nice runs in 11-on-11s, and Cooper DeJean, Jahan Dotson, Anaya Smith, Giles Jackson, and Taylor Morin were fielding punt returns. As I mentioned earlier, oddly enough, the return specialist in Avery Williams didn't line up with a punt return despite being on the coverage team. Yet the good news is he's healthy, maybe slowly he'll return into returning kicks. Overall, it was a solid day for most guys, including QB1. As ESP tracked Hurts going 14 for 15 on his passes, primarily taking care of the ball and making consistent throws around 10 yards or so. But most importantly, the takeaway was that the ball was never put in harm's way and he was confident in the operation. Something Jordan Mailata called out as a focus from last year to get the calls in faster, get to the line faster, and then allow themselves to see the defense for more time and make adjustments at the line if they need to. I mean, never a bad thing to be honing in on your craft, and I gotta say, the mindset has just trickled into about every area.
I'm just focused on being the best that I can be.
I truly feel like I'm the best in the league, and I want to put a stamp on it.
Trying to find ways to win. That's all that matters to me, and I just want the team to have that same mentality as well.
There we go. First day of camp in the books. How are you feeling? Also, for the record, Howie did confirm that the team expects to have 13 picks in next year's draft, while going on to say they can be used to improve the team this year, or they can be used to improve the team next year. As always, make sure to hit that subscribe button, turn the notifications on, because if we do get a signing, a noteworthy one, a marquee signing there, I'll be going live to break it down. And we'll see. Maybe a Justin Simmons in the future, who knows? But I'll just say this, at least football is back, and the Eagles are putting in the work. I'll catch you on the next one. This has been the Philly Special.